Sean Combs wants to go to court, but this time he is the one bringing the case.
P. Diddy ringing in the new year with a jailhouse meltdown, at least according to some new reports.
Sean Diddy Combs fighting back against claims he had sex with other celebrities and minors and that it was recorded on video.
They say he traveled from West Virginia to New York just to look at what was inside Combs' jail cell.
But one of the strangest cases involves a Michigan prison inmate.
And he wants a minimum of $50 million in damages.
Sean Combs' defense team is not slowing down over the holidays. Instead, as their client sits in the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, denied bail on multiple occasions by multiple federal judges, the attorneys have filed another motion in support of a hearing. They are alleging that a search done at the MDC by the Bureau of Prisons was actually a ruse to get into Combs' jail cell and dig for information. As a quick reminder, Combs, who is a music mogul, Bad Boy Records founder, producer, and entrepreneur, is facing federal charges out of the Southern District of New York. A grand jury indicted Combs on 3 federal charges: racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, and transportation to engage in prostitution, all of which he pleaded not guilty to. Combs traveled from his home in Miami to New York back in September, which his defense says was because he was planning to turn himself in, but instead he was arrested and he's been behind bars ever since. According to federal prosecutors, Combs used his money and influence to force people to participate in what has been called freak-offs, which are hours-long sexual performances that involve commercial sex workers, drugs, and camera equipment. The defense claims that the Bureau of Prisons investigator, referred to as Investigator 1, copied notes that Combs had written down in his cell, possibly information that was privileged. Now, back in October, there was a raid by federal investigators at the MDC. According to reports, the MDC is notorious for drugs, weapons, and violence. Officials were reportedly looking for any sort of contraband the inmates might have. Now, Combs was questioned and photographs were taken of items in his cell. Now, according to a file from federal prosecutors, the sweep was pre-planned and coordinated to ensure the safety and security of the staff and inmates at the MDC and was part of a larger safety and security initiative and not in response to any particular threat or intelligence. The MDC sweep planned well in advance of the defendant's arrest and not conducted to target any particular inmate, included the jail and the warehouse where MDC food and other property are stored. During the MDC sweep, multiple housing units were searched, including the defendant's unit. Although the case team, members of the government responsible for investigating, charging, and trying the present case, were aware in advance of the defendant's housing unit, in addition to other areas of the jail.
Diddy is saying that this raid would never should have taken place, and the only reason they raided the place is because Diddy was staying there. The prosecution is looking at Diddy saying, "Have you lost your what? What's not clicking? Like, are you losing it? Are you okay? Guards, check yourself for Tucci." That's what's going on. But let me read you the latest letter, okay? And then after I read you the latest letter, it's going to be really quick. We're going to get into exactly what this means because, this is not good for Diddy. Okay, so the letter says, Dear Judge, the government respectfully submits the attached declarations in response to the January 3rd order and further support of its opposition to the defendant's motion for a hearing and other relief. The government has signed a million affidavits saying, we did not plan the MDC raid. No, we didn't leak this to the news. No, we didn't do this.
Prosecutors from the Southern District of New York submitted an opposition brief to Sean Combs' motion for bail that they are hoping that this new judge, in this case, Judge Arun Subramanian, will hear. And as we're going to lay out, prosecutors say not only is Sean Combs not entitled to bail, but essentially he shouldn't even get a hearing on this. And remember, Combs is currently in detention at the Metropolitan Detention Center out in Brooklyn, New York, after being denied bail by other judges. The main issues keeping him locked away are that the courts have held that the prosecutors have shown that he is a danger on the outside. He's a potential flight risk. Most notably was evidence put forward that he had been improperly contacting victims and witnesses in this case. And as we discussed on previous sidebars, Sean Combs' counsel has denied all this. They've indicated that all of those conversations were not done with the intent to engage in witness tampering or obstruction. And even, at least they say, one witness had contacted Combs, not the other way around. Well, the government has come out with new evidence of its own to justify pretrial detention.
The defense might have important or pertinent information that needs to be turned over to the prosecution under the rules of discovery, but that information might also be protected by attorney-client privilege. The filter team serves kind of as a middleman. It's a group of prosecutors not involved in the case who sift through the evidence to pick out anything that shouldn't be shared with the prosecuting attorneys and remove or redact that from the discovery material. The prosecution wrote that accusing the Bureau of Prisons investigator of working on behalf of the prosecutors is meritless. The mere fact that a prison official turns over material seized from a detainee's cell to prosecutors after the fact with no prior coordination regarding the seizure does not show that he acted at their behest. In fact, courts have repeatedly held that searches initiated by prison officials, even where those prison officials later turned over evidence seized from those searches to prosecutors, and such evidence was helpful to a prosecution against a defendant, do not implement the Fourth Amendment.